You're looking there at the designs of the Toronto firm Beaufils. It kicked off Toronto's Fashion Week last night. It's a team of sisters. Their latest line on the catwalk, feminine fabrics, a masculine edge, nice and clean. Simplicity there. The shows continue in Toronto all week. Lots of high-end designers, some of the best in the country, but also brands like Joe Fresh and Target. They will debut new lines, and they are always highly sought after. We're also watching another trend in the fashion world at Toronto Fashion Week: bloggers. They're usually young. They often work from home. Until recently, they've been fashion industry outsiders, but now, not only are they in the front row at fashion shows, their reviews can make or break a designer's career. And it's really changing things. So Diana Sumanak is with us this morning. She's been, if you follow her on Twitter, and you should, she's been there at Fashion Week enjoying the shows and sort of tracking this trend that you've noticed of who's in the front row. Before we get into the bloggers, let's talk about this. You know, it's they're there. Yeah. I mean, even if you don't, you know, hold your breath waiting for the September issue of Vogue, you may have seen The Devil Wears Prada, and you know how this whole fashion world usually works. Who's usually in the front?
So we're talking about, obviously, Anna Wintour in New York. That's the character that Meryl Streep's character in The Devil Wears Prada was based on, where they said a designer knows how well he did just by the look in her eyes. Here in Canada, I think the much kinder Jeannie Becker is always a fixture in the front row. Suzanne Boyd, who used to be the editor-in-chief of Flair, she's now at Zoomer magazine. These glamorous, established women, usually editors-in-chiefs, are often the ones in the front rows. Noreen Flanagan from Elle Canada. Now, just anecdotally, in the last few years, I've been going to those shows, just attending, not in a front row. And I noticed some of the people who sit in the front row don't look old enough to order a drink after the show. And I noticed that these bloggers are really getting front row at the New York fashion shows. And when I did a little bit of digging on this, this is a trend. This is Jay Strutt, by the way. He's 21 years old. Sharon and Hayes, some of the bloggers that we have followed, they wield a lot of power, Heather. It's really hard to quantify the relationship between a positive fashion blog and a fashion purchase. Let's say last night we saw the Pink Tartan show. You know, it got great blogs, great tweets. How many purchases will it translate into? But some of the reports I said marketed around 30% of purchases based on positive blogs. So designers love them because they push sales, and it's cheaper to develop a relationship with a blogger than it is to place that giant ad in Vogue or in Elle magazine.
So it's really changing the industry there. But do they take the same approach? The two bloggers that you spent, the two Canadian bloggers that you showed us, and you'll tell us more about them. I mean, are they as critical as a typical fashion editor might be? Are they changing just how we even take a look at the collections?
Well, this is the interesting part. I really wanted to see whether these people were looking at Jay Strutt right now, whether they see themselves as fashion journalists in the line of Anna Wintour or Jeannie Becker or somebody like that, or do they see themselves more as marketers? And the answer is all of the above. I've noticed there's a wide spectrum. Some people definitely can be quite critical, saying, I like this, I did not like that, so they're more like fashion journalists that way. Others feel that that line between journalism and marketing is kind of outdated. I don't know how comfortable I feel with that statement, but it's definitely a brave new world. They're ruffling a lot of feathers in the fashion industry. Some people love them. I've heard from a person I'm not allowed to identify, but one of the fashion insiders yesterday, he said there's a lot of talk. A lot of people don't like them. They feel like they haven't paid their dues, that they haven't owned their craft in a way that somebody, let's say, like Jeannie Becker
studied what goes into design.
And studied that critical eye. A very interesting person I spoke to was Sharon Ng Hayes. She is a chartered accountant by day. She worked on Bay Street. She's a mom. She lives in the suburbs. And she, along with her sister, runs a very influential fashion blog called Backseat Stylers. She was very smart, and I asked her how she sees herself vis-a-vis these fashion fixtures like Suzanne Boyd or Jeannie Becker. Here's what Sharon Ng Hayes had to say.
I think what really drives us to you know, gaining that sort of relationship with designers is just passion, which is not so different from the Jeannie Beckers and the Suzanne Boyds. I think they can see in our writing just how much we love the industry. We're excited about what they're doing, especially our you know, our local talent, our Canadian designers, and you know, that excitement, that passion really shows through.
By the way, she has a great feature on her site that's just like fashions coast to coast from Canada. And she said, Canadians are great dressers. I don't know where this myth of denim on denim, the so-called Canadian tuxedo, came through, but I haven't seen anyone like that. Canadians coast to coast are great dressers. One good thing I think everyone can agree on, these fashion bloggers promote Canadian fashion industry and Canadian designers, and I think that's something that we can all agree is a great thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, listen, it's going to be an interesting report. Thanks,
Thank you so
Deanna, for
much.
coming in to preview it. And you can see the full item tonight on The National, The Rise of the Blogger, on The National, 9 and 11 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on CBC News Network, 10 o'clock on CBC Television. That's 10:30 in Newfoundland.